Michael Lawrence Tyler, famously known as Mystical, is a celebrated American rapper renowned for his captivating stage presence and unique musical style. Born on September 22, 1970 in New Orleans, Louisiana, Mystical rose to prominence in the hip-hop scene through his high-energy delivery and compelling rhymes. His early exposure to breakdancing led him to experiment with rap as Mystical Mike. While attending Cohen High School, he developed a passion for science, particularly astronomy, but his interest in rap intensified, drawing inspiration from LL Cool J. Following his graduation, Mystical enlisted in the United States Armed Forces as a combat engineer during the Gulf War. Despite studying psychology and business courses, he dedicated more time to performing rap at NCO clubs. His ties to the 3-9 Posse music group led to a breakthrough when he showcased his talent at an event opening for Run DMC and Doug E. Fresh. Leroy Precise Edwards, a producer for Big Boy Records, was impressed by Mystical's performance of Not That N-Word and offered him a record contract. Mystical's debut album, Mystical, released under Big Boy Records in 1994, became a significant success for the label and propelled Mystical to fame, despite facing personal tragedy with the loss of his sister during the album's recording. In 1995, tensions arose between Mystical and rappers signed to Cash Money Records, like UNLV, Lil Wayne, and BG, resulting in diss tracks aimed at Mystical and retaliatory diss tracks like Beware from his second album, Mind of Mystical. The passing of his sister, Michelle Tyler, profoundly influenced his music, notably seen in tracks like Dedicated to Michelle Tyler, Murderer, Murderer 2, Shine, and Murderer 3 Inches across subsequent albums. Eventually, Mystical and Lil Wayne resolved their differences, choosing to collaborate instead. Mystical signed to Jive Records and released Mind of Mystical in 1995. He signed to No Limit Records in 1996 and released Unpredictable in November 1997. He appeared on many of the No Limit albums released from 1997 through a chunk of 1999. In late 1998, he released Ghetto Fabulous. That was his last album with the label, and he left later in 1999 to go on his own. In 1999, he began recording his album after leaving No Limit. Let's Get Ready was released in 2000 and contained Danger, Been So Long, which featured rising pop star Nivea and was the Billboard Hot R&B/hip-hop songs #1 single in June 2001. Mystical's most recent solo release was the 2001 album Tarantula, which contained the hit single Bouncin' Back, Bumpin' Me Against the Wall. The well-received album was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Rap Album in 2003, and Mystical was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Male Rap Solo Performance that same year. Mystical was also featured prominently in the single Move Bitch by Ludacris, as well as I Don't Give a Fuck by Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, along with Crazy Bone, both in 2002. In 2003, he starred in the film 13 Dead Men. In 2003, Mystical was indicted on charges of sexual battery and extortion. On January 15, 2004, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison after pleading guilty to forcing his hairstylist to perform sex acts. He served the full 6 years and was released on January 14, 2010. Mystical headlined a concert at the Mahalia Jackson Theater of the Performing Arts on Mardi Gras, February 16, 2010. Mystical's first song after being released from prison was an underground track with former No Limit label mate Fiend entitled I Don't Like You. A few weeks later, Atlanta-based, New Orleans-born R&B artist Lloyd released Set Me Free featuring Mystical. The music video for Set Me Free was released on May 18, 2010 and was shot in New Orleans, primarily from the Calio projects. In 2011, he performed at the Gathering of the Juggalos. Mystical and Busta Rhymes were signed to Cash Money Records by Birdman on November 16th the same year. His first single for the label, Original, was released shortly thereafter and featured new label mates Birdman and Lil Wayne. In 2014, Mystical recorded Feel Right for Mark Ronson's Uptown special. The song and video were released in 2015. Also in 2015, Mystical appeared on Stevie Stone's Single Rain Dance with Tech Nine from the 2015 release Malta Bend. As of February 2016, Mystical was touring the United States. In January 2016, he performed in shows in Bahrain and Bulgaria with Danny. In April of 2016, Mystical was featured on Just a Lil Thick. On June 26, 2003, Mystical pleaded guilty to sexual battery and extortion. On January 15, 2004, Mystical was sentenced to 6 years in state prison after pleading guilty to forcing his hairstylist to perform sex acts. The rapper and 2 bodyguards forced the woman to perform oral sex and accused her of stealing $80,000 in checks. As part of a plea bargain, all 3 pleaded guilty. Mystical initially claimed that the incident was consensual, but a videotape of the incident was later found at his home shortly after the charges were made. However, the case took a twist when the judge viewed the videotape at the sentencing, took into account Mystical's 2 prior arrests for drug and gun possession, and had him remanded into custody to begin serving a 6-year sentence immediately. Mystical's bodyguards, Leland Ellis and Versi Carter, also pleaded guilty to sexual battery. In August 2005, while incarcerated on the state sexual battery and extortion charges, Mystical was charged federally with 2 misdemeanor counts of failing to file tax returns for 1998 and 1999. On January 12, 2006, he was convicted in federal court of the tax offenses, but was allowed to serve the 1-year federal sentence concurrent with his 6-year state sentence. Mystical was incarcerated at Louisiana's Elaine Hunt Correctional Center. On January 19, 2006, Mystical was denied parole at a parole board hearing. On January 11, 2007, Mystical was released from custody on the federal misdemeanor tax convictions, but he remained in custody on the 6-year sentence for the Louisiana state felony convictions. The news of his release caused confusion among fans who heard the news and mistakenly thought he had been released on parole. He was released January 14, 2010. After his release, Mystical was registered as a sex offender. After his release, Mystical stated, "On February 22, 2012, Mystical was arrested again following a dispute with his domestic partner and was later given a misdemeanor charge of domestic abuse battery. He was detained for 9 days and then released on bail. On April 16th, he was given a 3-month jail sentence for violating the terms of his probation he was given following his release from prison in January 2010. He was given credit for the 9 days already served, reducing his confinement to 81 days. He began serving his sentence on May 14th at the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail. During his incarceration, he appeared in court to be heard on the domestic battery charges, as well as for a hearing to determine child support payments for his 2 youngest children. Mystical was released from jail in August 2012. In 2016, he was accused of rape and kidnapping charges stemming from an incident that occurred at a Shreveport, Louisiana casino. He was indicted on first-degree rape and second-degree kidnapping charges. However, in December 2020, prosecutors in Caddo Parish in northwest Louisiana dropped the charges that had kept him jailed for 18 months. In August 2022, Mystical was arrested again on charges of first-degree rape, domestic abuse battery, strangulation, simple robbery, false imprisonment, and simple criminal damage to property. He was refused bond by a Louisiana judge while he faced a 3rd allegation of rape and battery. State District Judge Stephen Turow ruled that evidence against the 51-year-old MC, his past history, and the victim's fears met the standard for holding him without bail. Mystical's trial for the charges of rape and false imprisonment is yet to begin. He remains in jail without bail, as his attorney requested a delay to the proceedings in order to put together a proper defense for her client. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more content.